So the topic for today is breaking bread, saying grace, and the idea of Eucharist. Bread is the oldest prepared food in human history, dating back more than 10,000 years to the dawn of agriculture in the Fertile Crescent. At least that's the history that we read in books. In nearly every culture, bread holds a central place on the table, and breaking it with others is more than sustenance. It is sacrament. To break bread is to participate in a lineage of shared abundance that stretches across millennia. The word companion comes from the Latin cum panis, which means one with whom bread is shared. In ancient Egypt, bread was offered to gods in temples, buried with the dead, and shaped into symbolic forms. In Greece, loaves were sacred to Demeter, goddess of grain and fertility, and in Rome to Ceres, from whom we derive the word cereal. Baking and breaking bread is a tradition with deep roots, signifying more than just eating. The act symbolizes unity, hospitality, and shared connection, often used to foster bonds between people. The act of breaking bread together is a powerful gesture of sharing, whether for a casual meal or a ritual celebration. The practice originates from the most ancient of times, when people would literally break bread apart to share it, often as a sign of hospitality, covenant, or trust. And we have a beautiful table here of offerings that people have brought to share today. Whether in a religious ceremony or a social setting, breaking bread represents unity. Sharing bread is a gesture of open-heartedness and generosity, welcoming others into one's life at our table and creating a sense of belonging. It's more than just sharing food. It's about actually sharing life experiences and building authentic connections. The act of sharing a ritual, whether simple or elaborate, nourishes not only the body, but also a need for belonging and connection. In a world, as Paul alluded to, and Joan as well, of fragmentation, speed, the slow, simple act of breaking bread together can become revolutionary, act by act, piece by piece. It reminds us that we belong to each other. To break bread is not merely to share food. It is to share presence. It is to say there is enough. It is to say we remember the ancient ways. It is to say we give thanks. Food is a ready vessel of energy, and when prepared with love, excitement, and a whole host of positive energies in food, the food can become supercharged. So when you break bread with people in celebration, the moment becomes a release of magic, the continuation of traditions that can carry us through another whole year. Throughout history, even into prehistory, people celebrated and marked life events by feasting. And as civilization grew and communities became larger, these simple feasts grew into the holidays that we celebrate today. Indigenous people used rituals and sacred foods for healing, shamanic journeys, and festivals. The green corn ceremony is a religious and social event celebrated by many Indians of the East and Southeastern tribes. Occurring in late summer, when the corn ripens, the occasion includes fasting, dancing, feasting, and ritual observations. The Ava ceremony is one of the most important celebrations of the Samoa Islands. It is a solemn ritual in which a ceremonial beverage is shared. In many indigenous and ancient traditions, hospitality is a sacred obligation. To offer bread to a stranger was to recognize the divine spark within them. In Arab culture, breaking bread is a deeply ingrained tradition, signifying unity, hospitality, and forging of relationships, as I have experienced many times in Egypt. In the Middle East, the Bedouin law of bread and salt holds that once someone has eaten at your table, they are under your protection. In Celtic lore, Sharing food at the hearth sealed bonds stronger than that spoken by words or vows. In early American traditions, our Thanksgiving grew from this impulse, a symbolic harvest meal shared between settlers and indigenous people, though later history has certainly complicated that. Religious associations with bread are likewise about as old as bread itself. The oldest cuneiform writings include Sumerian poems that are at once myths about the invention of bread as well as bread recipes. And tearing rather than cutting the bread is common everywhere, from ancient times to today, from peasants to haute cuisine. In pagan cultures, from the sacrifices of the first harvest to the gods, to laying out of milk, honey, and bread for the fairies, from the mute supper laid out to honor the dead on Samhain, to the partaking of cakes and ale in circles to ground people after ritual. In Christian tradition, of course, the breaking of bread during the Last Supper becomes the Eucharist, a mystical act of remembrance, gratitude, and union. In Jewish tradition, the motzi blessing is spoken before bread is broken and shared at Sabbath festivals, where they say, "Blessed are you. Blessed is this who brings forth bread from the earth." And the act of breaking bread in this context takes us into sacred time, linking body and spirit. To break bread together dissolves boundaries, to say, "You are welcome, you are safe, we are one table." In classical Roman culture, cakes of rounds made containing flour, nuts, leavened with yeast and sweetened with honey were served. In early Europe, the words for cake and bread were virtually indistinguishable. Cakes were sweet, while bread was not. Italian rituals include a Sunday visit where family and friends gather to feast, drink wine or espresso, and dance the tarantella in backyards and vineyards. In Norway, people prepare lefse. Did I say that right? A thin, round wafer eaten near the holidays. Breaking bread rather than slicing it is a symbol of the organic, communal distribution. It implies no hierarchy, no ritual or domination. It is not portioned with precision. It is torn and offered in trust. Bread is made of the simplest of ingredients: earth's grain, water, fire, and human hands. Yet it undergoes an alchemical transformation. Yeast leavens it, heat awakens it, and it rises. Giving thanks for bread is giving thanks for the earth that bore the grain, the sun and rain that nourished it, the hands that planted, harvested, milled, kneaded, and baked, and the mystery of life that transforms grain into nourishment. Through ages, food has been part of human celebrations, life passages, and holidays. Because food is central to our lives, it's a perfect vehicle for rituals, and those rituals become central to most religions. Many types of food are celebrated culturally and spiritually, from tea to corn. Seems the British have built their life around tea. In Japan, the chado, way of tea, is a sacred cultural activity that grew out of Zen Buddhism and involves the ceremonial preparation and serving of matcha, a green powdered tea. Some traditions hold that grace and thanksgiving impart a blessing that sanctifies the meal. This has been demonstrated remarkably by the work of Dr. Emoto of Japan and water and its crystalline structure. So as I worked on preparing for this talk, I had a spontaneous question arise in my mind one day. I thought, when does a habit become a ritual, and when does a ritual become a sacrament? So a habit is an action that's repeated often, sort of in the domain of the automatic. It's a pattern, but without presence. Habits form from the architecture of daily life, conserving energy for higher cognition, hopefully, but they can also become prisons of forgetfulness. Yet even a habit like making tea, lighting a candle, or walking at dusk holds the potential for the sacred to awaken within it. A habit is the seed. Intention is the sun that coaxes it towards bloom. A ritual is a habit lifted into the light of awareness. It is patterned with presence, action infused with symbolic meaning. In ritual, we cross a threshold into mythic time, the eternal now, where each gesture becomes a mirror of cosmic order. Ritual creates rhythm in the soul. It connects the microcosm of ourselves to the macrocosm of the cosmos. Ritual is the dance of intention, moving energy from the unseen into form. A sacrament is a gateway to the divine. It is a ritual ensouled, an action so potent, so aligned, that it becomes a living conduit for grace. It is no longer just symbolic. It becomes transformational. In the Christian sense, sacraments are outward signs of inward grace. But in a broader, mystic sense, they are alchemical seeds through which the soul communes with Source. At this level, the veil thins. We do not just enact meaning, we become the meaning. A sacrament is not performed. It is received. It is entered. It is beheld. And so, with intention, even washing our hands becomes a consecration. And when intention aligns with love and surrender, a ritual becomes a sacrament. Intention is the chalice, presence is the wine, and love is the pouring. And so, in closing, I would just say, before Deanna leads us into our celebration, I would invite you to take a deep breath before you consume the bread that has been offered. It will be blessed with intention, and you can share that experience with those who have gathered today with that intention, and with the intention that we can be our best selves and share and shine light in the world, regardless of how dark the world has become. We can be the light and share the love. So in closing, may we remember every time we break bread, we are participating in a sacred lineage of gratitude, welcome, and belonging. May we sit at the table of life with open hands and open hearts. With gratitude and reverence for all life, we savor food, mindful of all that has contributed to it. We commit ourselves to a more equitable sharing of Earth's bounty. I give thanks for my own unique gifts through which I hope to bring light and beauty to the world. Thank you so much.